I went to the doctor. I've been having a lot of dizzy spells and wasn't feeling well and didn't know what was going on. As soon as they took my blood pressure, they were kind of freaking out, which kind of freaked me out. They couldn't believe it was so high and nothing had happened to me as of yet.
Sometimes there are conditions or diseases that have reached an advanced state. At times, I'm unable to treat them.
They make money off of us, so they're gonna keep you coming back.
They're not really trying to heal you. They're just trying to keep you alive so they can keep pumping the medicine. And I had no idea. That's what hit the switch for me.
And a lot of people gave me the same response, which was, well, what's the big deal, right? You're 52, you're black, you're male. This should have happened 10 years ago. Then in August, I decided, I think I want to try this experiment. September 1st, I'm gonna go vegan and plant-based. I'm not gonna have any meat, not gonna have any dairy, not gonna have any cheese, and I wanna take a 30-day window and see how I feel. I did it for 30 days, loved the way that I felt, and just never stopped, and that was almost a year ago. When I first heard about it and was introduced to it, I was like, well, wait a minute. That means no wings. That means no cheese sticks. That means no pizza. I grew up with people that liked to eat and liked food, right? And loved dessert. I don't remember a lot of talks about being healthy. I remember a lot of talks about food being good. I decided to make this my new healthy obsession, right? And I wanted to talk to people who had already done it, who had been doing it, not people who were fly by night, who were like, I think I want to try this, or I'm not sure.
My introduction to veganism was based on health. So like I grew up in Florida. I never heard the word vegan until I came to California. So the very first time I came to California, I was at my fiance's house. She was just my girlfriend at the time. We was talking about getting something to eat. And her parents said something and I was like, what? And then she was like, oh yeah, we're vegetarian. I was like, y'all are black and vegetarian? I had never seen a black vegetarian before. Why in the world would you be vegetarian? How y'all alive? And she said because she had got diagnosed with cancer. So she went vegan for like a couple months and the cancer is gone. And I was like, what is veganism and how does eating food make cancer go away? And then she explained to me like, there's studies showing that meat causes this, that, and the third. And I'm like, what? I had never heard that ever in my life. There's no way that this is real. I did inpatient physical therapy in the hospital. So I seen firsthand what happens when you got to get chest tubes put in because you've been eating whatever you want for 50 plus years. And now it's going to catch up with you. And just having to help people walk to the bathroom, people can't do anything on their own. And that scarred me right there. And I said, this will never be me. There won't be no 20-year-old helping pick me up out of the bed because I couldn't stop eating pork and all that every single day, heavily loaded with salt and all that other stuff.
One of the trends that I see is a delay in Black men coming in to do preventive medicine. So it's unfortunate that very often when Black men come in, it's because their wives or their girlfriends have made the appointment for them. And sometimes there are conditions or diseases that have reached an advanced state. So unfortunately, at times I'm unable to treat them because of the fact that the condition is at a point where there's only so much that could be done.
Was there one incident? Was there one event? What caused this desire to transform and do something different?
This is so embarrassing, but I was walking. I don't know if I was walking my dog at the time. I was walking. This was like 4 years ago. I'm like, I'm like breathing all heavy, and I'm like, I'm just, walking. And it was obvious I had gained like a bunch of weight or whatever. And I think that was it for me because I've always been an athlete. I've always been very active. I was like, dang, I can't even walk to the mailbox or whatever I was doing. I was like, okay, I need to make a change, and that's when I said I would go plant-based, and now I'm vegan.
I had a couple of friends who had recently gone vegan. and it made it seem so easy. And I was like, oh wow, like that seems kind of easy. Like I could do that.
Mhm.
And I recently had stumbled across a blog that was called Young, Black, and Vegan, and I was like reading some of the discourse on it, and I wasn't disagreeing. I was like, oh yeah, they got a point. And I kind of just tried it one day cold turkey, and I've just been doing it ever since.
I was 350 pounds as a pescatarian. I'd begun refining my diet. You know, I stopped eating pork in like 1993, probably.
Mhm.
I stopped eating beef shortly thereafter. By the time my first child was born in 95, I was, vegetarian. And at a certain point, I went and dabbled back with chicken for a minute, but that didn't resonate with me. And so here I am. I was a 350-pound pescatarian, but we began to substitute other things, lots of potatoes and bread and all that other mess, So, and I just realized that I had to make a change.
What I found statistically is that most of us don't die of natural causes. It's diabetes, it's high blood pressure, it's hypertension, it's obesity, it's stress, it's all these things that are preventable. So to me, when I decided that I was going to move on this health journey, it was about not wanting to die because of those things. Like I want to go because I'm just old. Okay, cucumbers, the tomatoes over there. Then behind you is pomegranate tree. There's tomatoes. Gladiolas in the center. Swiss chard here on the ends.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
I'm working on this film about plant-based eating and eating healthy, and I was talking about, how you got me into it. And you've been with it since 2004.
I went vegetarian in 2004.
Okay. All right.
And I went plant-based last year. And we're saying a lot of the athletes are going plant-based now. And that's because and they're winning more games because of that, as opposed to eating the meat diet that they used to eat.
Right. The holidays came around, and because we're in COVID, it was easy to not necessarily be with a bunch of people and eat a bunch of junk. So I realized I was onto something when Thanksgiving and Christmas rolled around, and I had my plate of vegetables, and people were eating whatever they were eating, and I didn't feel like, oh, I got to get some turkey, or I didn't feel deprived. I just felt like this is what I'm doing, right? And I'm doing it for a bigger issue, for lack of a better term, a bigger cause. And that's when I knew I was onto something, because Thanksgiving and Christmas came, and there was I wasn't eating ham, I wasn't eating turkey, I wasn't eating, gravy, and all this kind of stuff. And I was eating, I planned a meal for myself and then executed it. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. And that was about 90 days into it. And that's when I knew, I was like, oh, I can definitely do this. Overall, I felt better. My mind was clearer. I was able to move through problems and issues and challenges faster. I was able to figure out how to be more creative.
I'm Lisa A. Smith. I am a certified plant-based nutritionist, and full-time I teach how to use food as medicine to prevent chronic health challenges. And so just studying nutrition led me to discover that a whole food plant-based diet is the most optimal diet on the planet for longevity. And that was so important to me, because learning that, the top causes of death, especially in the Black community, heart disease, cancer, and stroke, can all mostly be prevented from lifestyle modification, was a game changer, because essentially we're dying from things that are preventable. We're not dying from things that we had no control over.
So I went vegetarian for my New Year's resolution. So January, February, March, I was vegetarian. And then halfway through March, I was like, this is kind of dumb. Like, I already can't eat anything. I might as well just be vegan. And then I was like, all right, let's get it. So I was that March 17th or 19th? I went vegan, and I've been vegan ever since. So it's been 4 years now.
I consider myself to be an herbalist, meaning that I study plants to understand not only the characteristics of those plants, but what makes them thrive. If we know what makes them thrive, we can understand what action they'll have upon the human body. Most of the things that people care about when talking about nutrition, we have absolutely no care for. We're not concerned with protein. We're not counting calories. Don't care about carbs. We're concerned with finding real food, natural food that is going to be alkaline, that is going to be bioavailable, and that will easily assimilate to the body. That will bring about a different outcome from what most people are getting.
Liberation is in the choosing, and when we make choices, we find joy. When we feel confined and when we feel ourselves being constricted, right, that causes fear, it causes a trauma response, it causes sadness. So to let all of that go, to slice through it, to honor it, to look at it, to touch it, it freed me up. And when I started to feel freed up emotionally and spiritually, it also freed me up physically, right? And physically, I was able to feel joyful in my body, whether it's loving my body for the way that it is now that I'm like 50 and I don't feel and look the way that I did at 20. But when I let myself honor who I am, I can love my body differently than I did. When I can stand in my joy, when I acknowledge inside my body that something's bothering me, there's joy in that. I think before, when I was full of rage and anger, my body felt tight and constricted a lot of the times, not realizing that a lot of the trauma that I had and a lot of the repression and rage that I had was physically inside me. So joy is being able to let that go and express yourself in any given moment in a way that's in alignment with your spirit, right? That's joy. That's happiness, that's freedom, that's liberation. And again, when you are in a body that's marginalized or historically ignored, when you can do that in the face of what's happening in the world, that's joy, that's revolution, right? That has an ability to shift the narrative, I think, for myself and I think for our communities.
My hope, my wish is that this will start a movement that having dizzy spells and going to the doctor and realizing I want to change my health and then do this type of project will inspire other people to do the same thing. There are tons of things you can do for your health. There are things you can eliminate, there are things you can add. My goal is that 10,000 of us, 10,000 of you join me in taking on this challenge, and picking up the gauntlet and making your health, your well-being number one in your life, and not number one because so that you can help other people, but number one just because you're that important. So give the 10,000 Black men 3 tips in terms of them living to be at least 100, something they can do today, right now, when they're listening today. Can we give us 3 tips for that?
Yes, first start incorporating fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet. I'm not even saying you have to not eat meat yet, but just start incorporating those foods into your diet. Second, I would say to start switching certain things. You don't have to do it all at once, but instead of using dairy butter, get vegan butter. Instead of using, burgers made out of meat, get plant-based burgers. Start making those small switches. Mayonnaise, get vegan mayonnaise. Those small, simple switches can definitely help you in the long run to where everything you have now is plant-based. And third is to do as much research as you can to make sure that you are eating a diet with all the nutrients that you need, so that you're not eating, junk food every single day, because that tends to happen to people because they're not fully educated on, how much protein and carbs that they need to have in their diet. So definitely do your research, real research, and not research that, is funded by the dairy industry or funded by the meat industry.
I would tell them to try to have a diet which is low in fat, low in carbohydrates, and heavy in vegetables. So again, that's the plant-based diet. I would also tell them to make sure that they're exercising on a regular basis. In the African-American community in particular, we tend to be very spiritually based. So the role of the church comes in, or even for patients who don't have a church affiliation, having some sort of spiritual foundation tends to provide a lot of emotional and mental support. So I feel that having some sort of spiritual background or spiritual foundation is crucial to being able to live longer.
What I basically learned is that I can save myself by changing my diet. I'm not alone. I'm not unusual in making this a priority. There are people all over the country, all over the world who look like me, who are making the same commitment.
I'm sanctified and holy, I shall not be moved. Sanctified and holy, I shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. I shall not be moved. Oh, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. I shall not be moved.